stuff. We are going live. I am drinking a zero sugar Fanta Fruit Twist. The least interesting drink I could find at the shop.
Well, it's an orange drink, yeah?
Kind of like orange laced with red stuff and crack.
Red stuff.
But
Just get a Red Bull next time. I mean, there's no difference anymore.
Always Red Bull's full of caffeine.
Of course.
Yeah, I'll have one of those early in the day, but it's late in the evening. I can't do that. I just get a bad heart.
Are you serious? Oh my god, I could drink a Red Bull and go to bed immediately, and it does not have any effect on me.
Old before my time is what it is. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I'm your host, Adam Steele, and joining me is Mr. Scott. Hello, Scott.
What's up? Здравствуйте, спасибо огромное, что ты пригласил меня еще раз в эту неделю. Я очень рад быть здесь с тобой. Thank you.
Tonight on the BBC World Service. Yes. Other languages are also available. Yes, tonight we are going to talk about PC building specifically for recording studios and audio production, as we have for the last 2 weeks. But this week is going to be aiming at much more of a budget. Let's run the intro video.
Sorry.
Oh, the intro's it's a good intro, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, the guitar tone is really nice and presency. Has like a nice German sound to it. I'm a fan.
Yeah, I can't remember what I used for that. I think it was a Kazrog amp.
Probably.
Yeah.
No, big fan. Yeah, I really love that high gain sound.
But it wouldn't have been an Engel, because I don't think I've ever used an Engel.
No, it's not an Engel, I don't think.
I get
it's
that sound out of other amps. I just end up there. It's bizarre.
Why don't you ever try using an Engel then? That's like...
Because I don't like where Engels start. It's a weird thing. It's a predisposition. I don't know, I've developed a thing where I like to get an amp that's got an average sound and then get a sound I like out of it.
I get you. So Ollie's here. Ollie is a friend of mine. He's from Finland.
Hello, Ollie.
He believes in the spaghetti monster for good luck?
Oh, Pastafarian.
Yeah. We are together in a, Brian Hood, he's got this profitable producer course. We're all working together in an offshoot, the Accelerator Bootcamp.
Yes.
So he's a teammate of mine, really nice guy. I can't read all the text. I don't know. Is Rick here, Ollie? I can't see a Rick.
Yeah.
I don't have the stream open. Oh, he is here. All right. Rick is also here. Rick is also in my team. Really nice guy. He's French, so don't hold it against him.
Yes. To answer Eduardo in chat, you will hear a little bit of Scott. I've just turned my system down, but I'm in the studio tonight.
Finally.
Finally. I've been working on building things, but yeah, I've got Scott coming out of the monitors at me, so I've turned it down, and I've got a nice shotgun microphone that should cancel out plenty of that. So it won't be absolutely a perfect isolation, but hopefully it'll be good enough that it's not completely distracting. But yeah, one of the things that I've been in the studio building, I'm just going to grab this webcam and show you. Check that out.
Nice. 4 screens.
Yep. And
I can just imagine you have 4 1080 screens of prone. It's going to be great.
Just one 4K, just multiplexed.
Yeah, but you get the borders to deal with.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah.
How quickly this went downhill.
Yes.
So instead of saying like ultra budget PC build, I think this could be like the super starter build.
Yeah, this isn't going to be what I would call ultra budget. This is what I would call not your dad's PC. This is definitely not your dad's Microsoft Office and Word PC. But this is also not priced and built for gamers. This is built specifically for audio production. I mean, what we're going to do, I think, is we built, we spec'd out a build last week, and let's go to that build now. There we go. We spec'd out a build, which was a good, solid build, and
Hmm.
the price altogether came to £850. Now, this is absolutely, if you are going to be a professional music producer, this is basically what I would say get this level, get this kind of stuff. But if you just don't have that kind of budget yet, or at least you can't stretch that far, I think we should talk about where we can reasonably cut corners and what we can do to trim this down to something much more affordable. This isn't going to be some £200 bargain basement
No, no,
thing.
but I mean, for
But
sure, probably one of the storage devices we're gonna remove or put just like a 7200 RPM in there,
right.
for example.
Oh no 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 no.
For example,
But we will be doing things like that. Yes yes.
yeah. So one storage device, probably even maybe a less powerful card.
Yeah. So there's all sorts of stuff we can do to
What do
really
you got?
trim this
16
down.
gigs with 8 gig RAM, but I would feel uncomfortable doing 8 gig
Yeah.
RAM.
So I think we're getting ahead of ourselves here. Let's
Sorry,
slow
yeah.
it down.
Damn it!
I mean, all the ideas, but let's do it one idea at a time.
All right.
So,
AMD Phenom. I'm kidding.
yeah, let's go back to an AMD FX series. That'll do it. Oh boy.
No, I'd rather just use a Phenom. I'd go all the way back to 2008
Crank the engine.
and just skip the FX.
Yeah. So, where can we start that was the most excess? I think it was the storage.
Hmm.
So we originally went with a 250 gig NVMe drive, and we went with a 1 terabyte SSD. Now, for a start, this NVMe drive was nice, but it's a bit of luxury. So, do we
It's
agree?
gone.
We agree
Yep.
that's just gone. Now, storage size isn't really, I don't think, isn't the biggest deal with an audio production machine, depending on how much sample libraries you're using. I reckon that 500 gig would do you absolutely fine. Do you agree with that one?
500 gig, as long as you're not a composer that's using libraries.
Yeah, but again,
you're
if
just
you
a
if you
mixer,
are,
you'd be
then the
fine.
budget stuff isn't really
That's
for
true.
you.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is a
in
conversation
an
we had
ideal
last
world,
week.
you'd be offloading those files anyway to a cloud or
Yeah.
to a backup device when you're done.
Yes.
So
Yeah, I mean, I've got maybe 300 gigabytes worth of audio projects on my system drives here. Backups doubled, tripled, but that goes back about 9 months. And I do this for a living. You know, like,
Right.
the audio files are not that big. So,
Nope.
yeah, I would say if you've got 3 or 4 projects on the go at once, 500 gig would be absolutely
more than enough.
yeah, so let's
Yep.
swap this 1 terabyte drive out and see what we can find in the 500 gig range that I would consider stable. Because that's the thing, you can get some really cheap, like eBay 500 gig drives right now, but I don't know if I'd trust them with my work.
Not worth it.
Yeah.
I mean, there are certain. So, guys, starter computer components. There are just certain things that you never want to compromise on.
Yeah.
So, like a PSU, never ever. Storage, me personally, never ever, because I have songs that I wrote 20 years ago that are gone because they're gone because of hard drive crashes and so on and so forth. So it only takes once for you to learn that hard lesson. So just take our word for it. PSU, don't skimp. Storage, don't skimp.
Yeah.
Get reputable stuff.
Yes.
But I mean, you just heard Adam also say it's not like he's got the reputable, 500 gig and that's it. He backs everything up. So I mean, within reason. But I mean, don't go like, AliExpress and get a $20.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I'm going to be running the streaming PC that's over there off one of those cheap $20 SSDs. But the thing about that system is that sends everything out live. If the drive dies,
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
no, it doesn't matter in that case. Whereas all my important work is on stuff that's well built.
Right.
So yeah, let's.
What are you looking at? What are you thinking?
I'm trying to find. Oh, there we go. Not cache, capacity. I'm trying to trim it down specifically to 500 gig drives. There we go. Because that'll give me a much better appraisal of what we can do. It's like the Western Digital Blues are quite reasonable. And they are $57.73. I also trust SanDisk quite well. I don't think I've had a SanDisk SSD go bad on me in its reasonable service life of 5 years.
Right. This is the jumping off computer to get started.
Well, there's not really a price premium because of that either. That's why I would suggest them, because I've had like A-data ones that have gone bad on me, using things like Phison controllers.
What's the difference between a black and a blue?
Black is usually a caviar black is a spinning
No, that's
drive.
that's a regular one. I meant there should be a solid state black and blue.
Right,
If you
black
go
is usually their
blue,
premium stuff, so it's either made with higher quality components like single layer NAND, which has faster access times, or it's built with like higher rated capacitors and that kind of thing for a longer shelf life. But
and price difference would be like what, $20, $30, or would it be significant? I just can't see it because you're scrolling pretty fast.
sorry, I'm trying to find one. Let's just take Western Digital. There we go.
All
Western
right,
Digital Black.
there it is.
Oh,
I can't see.
7200 RPM. That's why.
Yeah, that's not what we want.
No, it's not. Blue.
Blue.
Blue, 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 blue.
What if God was one of us? Stream banned. Woof. Demonetized. Just a stranger
I'm not
on the bus.
finding any of their Black Series.
Yeah, I don't see it.
That are not spinning.
Well, there's a
drives.
red there, but no green.
Yeah, red's for network attached storage. They're
Sure.
designed for
So
like high performance.
let's go with the blue. I think blue will be fine.
Yeah, let's go with the blue then. Blue 500 gig. That one, £57.73. Our
Nice.
price now is £749. We've already saved 110 quid just by
That's
making
pretty
it
nice.
not crazy in terms of that. Now, the memory, I'm going to leave that as is for now because you can shave a few pounds off by going with slower memory, but arguably, why would you?
Mm-hmm.
What I think I might do is let's see if I can find a cheaper B450 motherboard, because this is 120 quid for this motherboard, and I've heard a lot of good things about the Tomahawk, but the price is quite high.
Yeah.
So let's
Get a sub 100 for sure, like in the
Yeah.
80, 90, I would imagine.
Yeah, so there it is right at the top. Now,
Right.
below it, straight away, Gigabyte B450M DS3H. Now, I don't think I've ever had a Gigabyte board go bad on me.
Me either. I used 2 different Gigabyte boards when I had an AMD FX, actually.
Yeah.
And I always used Gigabyte.
Now, it's a micro ATX board, which means there's space for a graphics card and something else, PCI Express. It's got space for an M2 NVMe drive as well if you later down the road decide you want to do that and go crazy. But
Nice.
the difference between that and an ATX board is that last 2 inches or whatever it is of the board where
Sure.
all the extras
That was
were.
on the bottom.
Yeah, that's gone. But at a price of $65.99 compared to the... there is one that's... Oh, right, Eduardo in chat, thank you. The WD
Yep.
Black is NVMe drives. So the Western Digital Black do SSDs, but they're not SATA SSDs. They're the
Right.
NVMe super fast. Oh, right. No, I clicked the wrong button. I wanted to add that to the cart, not just buy
What are
it
you
straight
doing?
away. What? Apparently... Oh, right. So the BIOS might need updating on that Gigabyte
that.
board. I'm sure that would be fine. I think it's Gigabyte.
Well, we're going to go with an AMD 5 anyway, right? Ryzen 5.
Yeah. Well, it'd be the same generation, though, so we may have a similar
True.
issue. But we've now got it down below 700 quid. So we're doing okay. Now, I want to leave the processor till absolute last and then try and use that as our...
Sure.
Then we can say, I guess, like, with this much over, how far do we need to go down? How much more can we squeeze out?
All right.
Yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, so next thing probably is the graphics card, because that's £92 worth of graphics card, and for an audio
Yep.
PC,
Unnecessary.
I like to have that um, for video production, but you don't need it.
Nope.
Let's just go price bottom. Just because the Ryzen graphics cards don't have anything, so you need something. What have we got?
Yeah, that's pretty low, man. 1 GB, 2 gigs. Jesus.
Yeah, but again, if you're not doing any 3D stuff with this, this
Fair enough.
should be reasonable. And if you do decide that you're not saving that much money actually. You know what? Shall we go a bit crazy with this? And so I've got rid of that now. We're at 600 quid. Shall we change it out for an APU? See what happens.
Let's try APU. Someone already mentioned, who was it? Maybe it was actually Eduardo, who's like integrated GPU.
Yeah, 3400G. Let's try the 3400G.
This kid is amazing.
Yeah, he's already on it. So the processor we have is an 8-core processor, which is a beast.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is always the cost. Now, the Ryzen 5 3400G is actually not a 3000 series chip. It's a 2000 series chip with a different name on it.
Awesome.
But that's no bad thing. It's not the worst processor in the world. Actually, performance-wise, it's probably exactly on par with the studio PC I'm streaming from right now.
What's the price on it? I don't see
it's
it.
£127.97, and it includes Radeon Vega graphics on it. Yeah. So
that's gonna work.
Yeah, let's have another look at the motherboard again, just to have a look at the graphics output choice. Yeah, so it's got HDMI and DVI on there, so you could still run 2 screens on.
Oh my god, DVI.
Yeah.
Remember when that was the day? You're like, you went from VGA to DVI. You're like, yeah, boy,
crystal clear. Yeah, my 2 screens up here are still using DVI. Yeah. Although they've actually both got DVI to HDMI adapters in the back.
we really need to do like the ultimate year 2000 computer build.
Oh, gee whiz.
You would love doing cable management with those long ass ribbons.
Let's see the price now. Oh, we did it. So it's $481.
That was easy. Done. Goodbye. No, I'm kidding.
Well, actually, let's play with this a bit now, because the CPU cooler, I would definitely recommend keeping that nice CPU cooler, because now that the graphics card is on that same chip die as the processor, you're gonna need some cooling. You have a 3500G. What? 3500G? I think that's a typo, because I'm pretty sure that doesn't exist. Don't quote me on that. Let's just do a quick Google. Yeah, that must have meant the 3400G, because that ain't a thing. But yeah, because the GPU is on the same chip die, all your heat's coming from one place. So really, to make it perform well, yeah. So yeah, Eduardo says he runs one of those in the server in the studio, runs Reaper sessions with no problem, up every day 24/7. Yeah, I mean, like I say, I'm running an Intel 6700 in my rig. That's a quad core. It's now 4 years old, I think it is. And I really, really, really have to try to max it out on a mix. The only mixes I have that max it out are ones that run at 96 kilohertz with everything on, with all guns blazing. If you don't intend to run at 96k, and to be honest, if you're looking at budget stuff, you probably shouldn't run at 9600k. At 96k even. Bleh, my brain is going. Then this looks like it would be absolutely fantastic for you. Can probably play with the storage and crank that back up a little bit now. Because now got 20 quid to play with, which means we can go from £60 to £80 for the SSD. And we've still got the nice fractal design Focus G and the 400 watt gold rated power supply, which is still in stock, which is unusual because a lot of GPUs right now are not in stock. And so, yeah, that's definitely a worry. Of course, this doesn't include a price of keyboard and mouse, your screens, a copy of Windows, which you can get from somewhere like scdkey.com for £10. Scott's chatting up his wife for a little bit, so...
Sorry, she just came home. I'll be done in just 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's fine, it's fine. I'm going to tweak the thingamajigger of the hoobity-goober. Where's all my keyframe interval stuff? Because YouTube is having a hissy fit about keyframes. There we go. That should shut it up. There we go. Yeah, recently YouTube's been like, please use keyframe frequency, which, honestly, I don't know why they're complaining about it, because it's never been a problem before.
All right, I'm back. Sorry for a couple minutes. I'll have to step out here pretty quick, but I'll be right back.
Sure.
So, what did you decide?
Well, we decided to stick with everything we have, but I think I'm going to crank up the SSD a little bit, because now we've got £20 to play with in the budget.
Yeah, good call. Do they make a 750?
Probably not, but I'll have a look at the affordability of terabyte SSDs again.
Sure, why not? That would be amazing, actually. That's ridiculous. I mean,
yeah.
Just to think about that. And that's not a shitty computer at all, by any means.
The 3400G is massively underrated because it's got the GPU on. People think that's a bad thing.
Again, I don't know why this obsession with big-ass graphics cards really I mean, if you're not a gamer or video editor, the need for a souped-up graphics card is really not there. You know, like in my rig, I have to do everything. I have to do video editing, blah, 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 blah. I need a card. If I had zero video editing on my schedule, I totally would not buy a fucking $800 card.
Yeah.
I would love to not buy that. But I mean, I want to video edit, and I want to video edit quickly. So you have to get a card that will let you do that. So this rig is perfectly fine. I mean, and think about it. That's right now where efficiencies and performance is way more optimized than 10 years ago. This is no lie. I was using an FX chip, like a 6350. I don't remember what it was. I did a lot of my early mixing on stuff like that with 4 gigabytes of RAM, 8 gigabytes of RAM, 6. And
yeah,
I never had an
really
SSD.
Doesn't matter until you start getting into crazy mixing territory.
Seriously, and listen, I never had an SSD until this computer that I built right now 3 years ago. This is the first time I ever had an SSD in my life. So I was using, those, and it wasn't like I had a Western Digital. I was using like the old Seagate Barracudas from 10 years ago, when they had a little lump in their quality, to say the least. I had hard drives go bad, click, 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 the click of death.
Yes.
All these things.
I've plenty of spinning hard drives around that are dead. Yes. One of our viewers, my brain, I think it was, Danny, told me only a week ago that he'd lost all of his audio for the last 2 years because his backup drive died.
Don't even get me started. That is a horror story. And like I said, just earlier in the stream, it only has to happen once. One time before that $40 backup cloud is not a lot of money.
Yes.
I have a 2 terabyte Google Drive on the cloud. I just copied everything that's on my backup drive. It's just there. I pay like, what is it, 30 or $40 a month. I almost never touch it, but it's there because I understand,
Mm,
and it's real. So I think it's a good call to grab probably a 1 gigabyte, or I'm sorry, one gigabyte, 1 terabyte drive.
yeah. Oh, there we go.
Wouldn't touch anything else, and I think this would be a really good starter build, like a dude who, because also what we mean by starter build, a guy who's just getting started mixing. If we honestly really think about it, what's it going to be? The only audio element most likely is going to be the guitar DI or a bass DI.
Mm,
All right, it's not going to be full multi-track drums. It's going to be like tune track or perfect drums or something like that. So it's not a huge load on the system because the songs more often than not are going to be simpler. Bass, drums, guitar, vocal tracks. This computer is a beast for a session like that.
yes.
As your skills grow, the needs grow, obviously, but this is even overkill for a really simple Reaper session with just MIDI drums,
Yeah.
maybe even MIDI bass.
Well, the other thing to keep in mind is the upgrade path here is truly ridiculous. Because that motherboard
Yes.
and that cooler will support a 16 core processor.
So you could have that motherboard for years,
Yeah,
basically, in
and a
layman's
discrete
terms.
graphics card. I mean, you could put a 2080 Ti on that. I mean, you wouldn't. That's a bit
Sure.
overkill, but you could. I mean,
What's he saying? Or a sample stripe disc. Where does the stripe idea always come from? Is there something good for that, or I'm ignorant? I'm asking out of ignorance, not out of
I generally think it's a
condescending.
bad idea. I'm quite hesitant to use network attached storage, but for me, striping discs, as in like two of them in RAID, so you get kind of double speed, is a throwback to the spinning disc only days.
I see. Okay.
Because I mean, if you could get 100 megabytes a second off one drive or 200 megabytes a second off two drives, that's a massive jump. But when we're already talking SSD speeds, it's just not
Sure.
worth the risk. Because the risk is that if one drive dies, the whole thing dies. So your risk has been doubled.
True.
So yeah, I mean,
Rick also joined. Hey, Rick, how you doing? Adam is English. Rick is French. Just figure it out between yourselves, please.
no, I'm good with the French. I work a lot with the French. Two Notes, one of my favorite companies,
Yep.
based in I think Montpellier, somewhere around there. And yeah, those guys for years literally paid my rent. So yeah,
Yeah, dude, Rick is awesome. I mean, he, like I said, he's in the team that I told you about earlier with Ollie. A really nice guy. So I told Rick that Rick is the first French guy I haven't wanted to immediately punch in the face.
so you've never been anywhere other than Paris, then?
No, no, no. Like the French dudes that came to this side of the world were just not friendly.
Oh right.
I don't understand, but yeah, Rick, super nice guy.
Huh.
Um, and of course, it's a stereotype, but I mean, like, yeah, man, that was my experience personally has been less than stellar. But
Hmm. My general experience of French people is that they're all very nice unless you're in Paris, and then they're all an ass.
they're all dicks.
Yeah. But
Is there an analog to that? Like all the English are cool except in London,
yeah,
or
pretty much. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Actually, yeah. Most of
hmm.
the people that I've met in London are complete, waste of oxygen. But mind you, you could say that about any big city, I guess.
It's different. I don't know. It's really. I've thought about traveling to your neck of the woods and checking everything out, but I am actually not a city person.
Oh, I'm a
I grew up in a town of less than 1,000 people.
ah
Yeah, which is funny because now I've moved all the way across the world, been to Siberia, blah blah blah.
yeah.
Now I live in Kiev.
I was essentially born on a major bus route and never really changed from there. Yeah.
it's uh, it's cool. Obviously, there are conveniences like, oh shit, I forgot to buy this thing. The store's open till 11 o'clock at night. That's cool.
Yeah.
Shit closes at 8 o'clock. You know where I'm from, or it used to. Maybe it changed. You know, everything was different when I was younger. You know, Sunday wasn't guaranteed that people are working. You know, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's all changed for us as well. Like, I distinctly remember as a kid, there were like set shopping hours, and you couldn't even go to the pub beyond certain times on Sundays and that kind of thing. Everything's
That's
changed.
that's cool.
But yeah,
And so have computers. So for 500 pounds, you can get a really great audio centric computer.
yeah.
This is
Let's go
far
hunt.
and beyond way better than anything I had up until 3 years ago when I bought this rig.
Yeah, let's go hunting. Let's
Let's do
change
it.
this to SSD only. Capacity somewhere between.
Did it have 800?
I don't know. So let's find out, and let's arrange this by price. And so we've got that
For,
A data thing that I was talking.
yes,
500, 500, 500. Generally speaking, you're only going to get 500 or terabyte
I see
because
that.
where's the first terabyte?
Terabyte what? I don't even know what that
TC
is.
Sunbow.
Next. Crucial. Crucial is okay.
Yes, Crucial might be the answer here. The Crucial BX500 is.
It's got a 3-star rating, but I don't understand why. I know in audio fields, Crucial's pretty well respected.
Yeah, probably because it's entirely average. It's not great, but it's not bad. It's 3 stars. It's.
Fair.
Oh, I reached back in my day age about 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, when I was working on electric typewriters as a 10-year-old. So that'd be, 25 years ago. Whoa. Yeah. ASRock X570 Phantom Gaming.
I will be back
it's
in
way
5
too
minutes.
expensive for what we're doing today. And
All right, I'll be back in 5.
okay, sure. Also, Hackintosh is kind of a swear word around these parts because we don't do it. We do not do Hackintosh on this channel because it's unstable. It's very unstable, and I can't work like that. And it's kind of cool in the same way that setting off fireworks indoors is cool. I mean, yeah, it's a stupid idea and you wouldn't do it, but if you're a special kind of psychopath, then and you really, really want to do it, then hey, you do it. And yeah, a nice NVMe, he says. Oh, that's a point. It said SSD. Let's look under M2 form factors. Because I wouldn't mind this being a terabyte SATA drive. Ooh, that is more expensive though. Let's have a look at the Crucial MX500. Is that NVMe? No, it's not NVMe. So you don't really get any benefit. You don't save any money either. So back to Serial ATA it is then. So what were we looking at? TC Sunbow, Crucial. Where was the next 1 terabyte? The 860 QVO. So we're back where we began with that. So that's the choices, either the 860 QVO, the QVO being the quad level NAND flash, which is still way faster than a spinning drive. And yeah, no, I have issues with ADATA's drives because I got one of, I think it was this one actually, the SU630, not that long ago, and it wasn't compatible with anything that I had other than one PC, and then it died within 3 weeks. Not ideal. So, yeah, given my limited experience with that one, I can't heartily recommend it. Which is a shame, because I wanted it to be good. I wanted it so badly to be decent. Oh, there's also a Kingston one here, and I do like Kingston. I've never really had anything Kingston related go wrong apart from a couple of their USB sticks over heavy use have kind of melted. Sabrent Rocket. I know that Linus from Linus Tech Tips seems to like them, but Probably best to stick with the kind of brands where you can send it back and get a swap quickly. And seeing as though it's not coming up on PC Part Picker, which it kind of would if it was at all well known. Yeah, let's stick to the major retailers, because I mean, you can get half decent stuff through something like AliExpress if you don't mind waiting 6 weeks for it to turn up, and if it's broken, you wait another 6 weeks. But yeah, yeah, let's have a look. So yeah, it's definitely a toss up between this Crucial and the Kingston. And yes, one's a terabyte, one's 960 gig, but once they're formatted and all said and done, they'll be almost identical storage-wise. But yeah, the Kingston one looks like every other drive, so there's not a great deal I can say there. By the way, everybody, hit the like button if you haven't already, because that's massively appreciated. Let's add this one to the cart, and we're now £10 over, and I'm sure we can claw back £10. Maybe we could change the power supply out, because our power draw here is so low. It's absolutely insane. Or we could cut a corner by getting a cheaper case. Maybe we could turn down the speed of the memory, because I'm not even sure that a 3400G would like 3200 megahertz memory. As soon as Scott gets back from being told off by his lovely wife for whatever it is that he's done, then I'm sure we can talk about that. Also, the Cooler Master Hyper 212 is 40 quid. We might be able to find a good 30 quid cooler. Now we're just looking for that extra little thing. Just to shave that extra little bit off, because I'm sure we can do that. In the meantime, any questions in the chat that are PC related? I mean, more specifically for music production, but also if you've got anything that's more general, I can try and help, because I try my best to stay in tune with the most up-to-date stuff. I mean, I'm kind of waiting for the Ryzen 4000 series to drop, but rumor is that that's going to happen this year. And with everything that's happened, I'm gonna look for Sabrent. Then I'm just gonna do additional storage and just Sabrent rockets. The prices are quite high on those. A 1 terabyte rocket Q is still 30 quid higher than anything that works for our budget. So, as cool as they may be, they unfortunately don't fit our budget here. So yes. Any more questions? Yeah, like I said, I'm looking forward to the 4000 series, but because it's this year, and because of everything that's gone on with, human malware or whatever you want to call it, the situation that we've had this year, come on, brain. The production lines, especially in countries like China, where a lot of the parts are made that then get shipped to fabrication plants, have been massively delayed, which means that whenever a company comes out with a new series of products, they generally speaking don't announce it, release it, then start making it. They start making it months in advance, because of course it takes that long to actually put things together. And so if they've not even announced anything to anyone yet, then it's not going to happen until at least September, October, November. I'm sure we are allowed to say the name of the thing, but I actively avoid it because I've seen people getting yellow flags. Yellow flags are not great for us, because a yellow flag means that any advertising revenue that we earn for the first few days of the video, which is when a lot of people watch it, we don't get. So yeah, I try and avoid certain things where I can. Make it family friendly, try and talk about, good, positive things. You may have noticed I very rarely swear on the channel, all that kind of stuff. Here's a good question. Is the speed of your computer based on CPU or clock speed? Now, the way that question's phrased suggests to me that there's not quite an understanding of how things work here. It's that the analogy is, does your car go fast based on the engine size? And there are many answers. The car analogy is actually a perfect analogy, because if you have an old, V8 6-litre monster of a car, and you have a modern Formula 1 car which has a 1.6-litre engine, which is way smaller, the Formula 1 car is going to absolutely run rings around it. Because it's a much newer design, much more efficient design, it's made to be modern and high performance, which is why it's very, very difficult to compare. Now, let's say that in Formula 1, 2020's Formula 1, let's say that all the restrictions were lifted, and that one Formula 1 team had a 1-litre engine, one had a 2-litre engine, one had a 3-litre engine. The one with the 3-litre engine's obviously going to win, because in that generation where everything's ultra modern, ultra efficient, state of the art, the one with then the bigger engine in that class is going to win. That analogy works perfectly well for processors. So, with Intel or AMD, if I was to say this CPU runs at 5 gigahertz, but this CPU that's 10 years old also runs at 5 gigahertz, the new one's going to run absolute rings around it. The clock speed means nothing out of context. All the clock speed can tell you these days is a rough indication of how many things are getting computed, because more modern CPUs have extra techniques, extra instructions, extra clever things they can do that mean that they can do more every clock cycle than an old processor can. Something like an old 386 processor from the early 90s, late 80s, if you could somehow magically get that to be as fast clock speed-wise as a modern processor, it would still be left in the dust, because the old processors were not much more than a jumped-up calculator, whereas really, really modern stuff, they've added all sorts of clever extensions to the processor that do extra stuff. If you've ever heard things like MMX in the Pentium days, that was a set of instructions that meant that processors could do things that were relevant to media in one go. Or there's the SSE and SSE 2, 3, 4, and even 4.2 extensions, which mean that a lot of this. Let's try and describe this. An old processor, really old, if I said to it, here are 10 numbers, give me an average, a very old processor would literally go, this one, add this one, next. Then add this one, next. Then add this one. And they would have to do it step by step by step. Then they would divide it by the number of values they were given. And that might take, to do an average of 8 numbers, for say, might take it 12 or 14 different steps to do that. A modern processor actually has a thing in called an average function, where you just give it 10 numbers and go, average please, and in one move it goes, there's your average. So it's quite difficult to say. Hi, Scott. Could you just say something for me, please? Just because my speakers turn off if they don't. There we go.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah, my speakers turn themselves off if you don't give them any sound for a couple of minutes. It's good for power saving, but can be really annoying otherwise. Just saying, there was a question in the chat about is the speed of your computer based on CPU or clock speed? And I'm like, explaining that they are very different things, but they are very closely related. And yeah, things to do with instruction sets, and it gets complicated. But the only time that clock speed or CPU speed is really relevant is in the same family of processors, right?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's also very interesting, at least in my opinion, is like I always say this in every stream that I do. I'm a layman, like a lot of other people. Like Adam dives into the stuff literally to the letter of what's doing what. He knows what he could do to squeeze the last 3% of performance out of something. But for me, just as a normie, I guess, computers have reached a point where it's immaterial. I think in most cases where it's not like it used to be back in the old days where you got to make sure everything works together and communicates perfectly and everything has to be the right blah 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 because of all the different connections and
Yeah.
more. I don't want to use the word analog because it's the wrong word, but I mean back in the old days of like
It's more complex modeling.
yeah, and it's so much simpler now where building a computer these days, it's man, you almost kind of have to work at it to mess it up a little bit. I mean, you kind of have to like really try hard to just mess it up. And just reading a basic guide online, you can create a nice computer for what you're trying to do. And in this case, with a starter computer for audio, you're going to be able to do anything else that you would need to. For example, Google Chrome. I mean, your basic tasks, just not gaming, just not video editing, just not hardcore computations. But I mean, if you need that kind of stuff, we're already not talking about that particular necessity. So when we're talking, I mean, clock speeds and stuff like that, it's cool to know. But in my opinion, mostly not necessary to dive into the details as much anymore. Just be like, okay, this is cool, this works. Might be good to know what a multi-core, multi-threaded stuff could do in theory. But again, I mean, I am just an ignorant little fool for the most part when it comes to computers. I just know what I need to do, and that's it. I mean, it's not like what it used to be, where those big long tape cables of all you got all these things connecting and like this. Now it's pop, SSD, pop, SATA cable, pop, done, pop, done. So anyone can do it now, pretty much. I mean, my grandma does it. I mean, she uses Apple products, but I mean, she figures it out still. I mean, she's 80 years old, so.
Core target market for Apple products.
Literally.
Yeah.
Or hipsters.
Yeah. So, I think Marty's watching a few minutes behind, but yeah,
Eduardo's like, Google Chrome, you need 16 gigs of RAM.
Yeah, it's not wrong. Jeez. So I've had a few different questions that have all come in that are all very similar, which is basically for a modern mix and a modern computer, do I need a high-end desktop PC like X299 is the example with the 9800X? No, not at all. That's massive overkill. I would move, if I were you, to AMD Ryzen. Get yourself a 3700X, 8-core monster for about half the price. High-end desktop stuff is a dying platform as well, because who genuinely needs it? If you're still on Intel and you're not on a high-end desktop, then you find where you are, but on the next generation you'll be behind the curve. That's where I am. I'm on a 6700 right now, and I will not be using Intel when I upgrade, probably in a couple of weeks. I'll be going with a Ryzen 9 3900, hopefully XT. That's what I'm waiting for. That's why I've not gone ahead with it yet.
Yeah.
because the
Jay's
XTs.
2 cents did a really good video about this where he said, why upgrade to AMD? And
Yeah,
it basically boils down to price per performance. You get an
yeah,
Intel of the same, the words, I'm forgetting the words, but you can get the same priced AMD with double the amount of cores,
yeah,
essentially better performance for and again getting into the super technical stuff, which I'm not too particularly interested in. I see Intel are making these little tiny upgrades every new series. I read about the 9700s and all these things. I'm just like, it's literally the same thing, just maybe repackaged. And AMD literally went like, "Oh, we got 16. Oh, you want to have a 30?" I mean, it's ridiculous now.
yeah.
I can't read i9. The Skype. I'm gonna open up the
So
streams. I can't
Rocko's
read
using a
these.
9900K, which is absolutely bananas, and there is absolutely no need to upgrade from that for a long while. But the only reason I'm not recommending stuff like a 9900K and a 109900K is not because they're bad processors, they're not, but the price does not anymore reflect its worth. That is the
That's
main
the
thing.
point. Yeah.
Yeah, it's exactly what you said. But yeah, there will be a little bit of echo on Scott's voice because it's coming back through the monitors. I can't change that. Apologies. But yeah, for what you can get for your money, and that's the thing, because AMD for a few years had a reputation for making processors that ran really hot, were unstable, and were generally not worth the money, even though they may have been less expensive. AMD now have basically removed all those problems, and all they're left with is power less expensive. It's a no-brainer. It's an absolute no-brainer, because Intel and AMD processors are not that different from each other. And in fact, if you didn't know, ladies and gentlemen, Intel actually licensed some of their processing chip design off AMD. And AMD licensed some of theirs off Intel.
Right.
It's a symbiotic relationship. The processors are not that dissimilar from each other.
I got stuck on Intel. It's difficult. I mean, it's no secret that FX was a huge bummer.
Yeah.
All of them. Like the 8350s and all that stuff. Like Adam said, you could cook an egg on them. It was silly.
Yeah.
And the performance just was not there. And they tried some really bonkers stuff near the end too with the FX series, like 9350s, where you need hardcore water cooling nonsense. And you're just looking at that going,
processors, yeah. Whoa.
You're just looking at that going, are you kidding me? And then Ryzen came out. I got the first generation 1700X in my computer. And I just told Adam this the other day. The first time I noticed like I had performance issues, video editing, doing actual video editing with more than just me in my little 10-minute clip with one video. I plopped that video with Glenn in there, and Rizal was like, and that's the first time I actually noticed, like, oh, all right, I'm starting to chug along here. And the other interesting thing about that was I had Google open with 5 tabs. I had Discord open. I had Slack open at the same time, Telegram open at the same time, and had a YouTube video on pause. Only at that point was it like, all right, come on now. Chugging along a little bit. Close all that stuff.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, modern machines can do so much. Like, and I've had Reaper running on a potato, essentially. Like, it depends what you're doing with it. If you're recording an acoustic guitar, one vocal, a little bit reverb, a little bit of stock EQ, you can do that on a Raspberry Pi. But
it's not a potato, it's a pie.
What? Yeah, potato
not
pie.
A potato, it's a pie.
Yeah, potato pie. Potato pie. That's a thing around here. It's called.
Core 2. Mage wrote that he's got a Core 2 quad. What year was that?
Oh god, that's like 2008.
There we go. It's 12-year-old PC, and even another reason to get Adam's Reaper course because Reaper runs on that.
Yeah. Yeah, save the money, buy the Reaper course.
Uh, it would be so funny to do silly tests now, like, hey, let's see what a souped up AMD Phenom would do these days with because I still know people that have a Phenom because they're just regular old users. They just upgrade the Windows. They just do their email. They have no particular reason to get a new computer. Um, Set up a Raspberry Pi, live recording. There you go.
Oh, that's perfect, Eduardo saying he set up a Raspberry Pi for live recordings for a friend with the Behringer X32. Record onto the SD card and an external drive at the same time and remote from your phone. Yeah, you don't need powerful stuff if you're not doing a heavy third-party plug-in mixing. That's kind of the key, because like if you're using stuff from like good examples, Acoustica Audio, their plugins are so intensive on the processor.
Acoustica, they're the ones that do Mixcraft, right?
No.
Who am I? The name is very familiar. Acoustica. My Jesus, type it in.
It's not got an O in it. It's like Acoustica. Let's just pop that on screen. So their plugins have this kind of real nth detail modeling underneath. And they sound about as close to the real deal as you're ever going to get, but...
Gotcha. Okay, all right.
Yeah, at the same time, they eat CPU. I think Nebula is their main thing that they've got modeling for EQs, preamps, all sorts of stuff. But yeah, it absolutely eats processing for breakfast. And it's easily the most CPU hungry plugin set that I've seen on anything. But if that's your thing, you're going to have to spend some money on some serious computing power. But if that's not your thing, and you do it all with like stock IR loaders and that kind of thing, then
You're fine.
Yeah, you're fine. Separate
Good
question. Do plugins
yeah.
do plugins produce latency? That depends on the plugin. Some do, some don't. If you use Reaper specifically, actually there's a video going up on Glenn's channel, hopefully this week, maybe next week, where I talk about exactly this. When you open up an effects window that's got the list of effects as well as the actual view, the bottom left, it tells you how many samples of latency an effect adds. And I try my best when I'm tracking to use plugins that have 0 additional latency. And then when I'm mixing, I'm less bothered. But usually things like tape emulation adds a certain amount of latency because of the way it works. Because a lot of the sound of tape is things like print through. And to get print through, you know what print through is? Yeah. So print through, to get print through, you've got to wait for the tape to go round once. That takes half a second. That's your latency.
Yep.
So it depends. It very much depends on how the plugin's made, what its intention is. But yeah, a lot of plugins don't add latency. Some do. And the ones that do as well, if you add them one after the other, that latency will add up and stack. So that's something you definitely have to be aware of. I've had so many times, especially singers seem to be sensitive to this, where they're in the vocal booth going, there's a kind of a delay on my voice, I don't like it. And it's it's always that.
Yep. And people who are used to recording guitars, I can feel the latency. I try to get my latency down as far as possible because I can feel it. That's only with experience. And I would also like to preface that the plugins do produce latency. Latency is going to be most important during the tracking phase, as Adam already mentioned.
Yeah.
When you're mixing, jack up the buffer, basically, so you don't get cracks and pops.
If your computer can deal with a lot of plugins, then the latency is less important because in a mix that you're not tracking, something like Reaper or even Pro Tools these days naturally compensates for that. It knows exactly how much latency is in there and shifts the sound of the track by that much. So they all sound bang on, sample accurate. So that's not something to worry about. It's only when you've got a record arm enabled that things start to go horrendously wrong. So
Horrendously wrong. That's a great way to describe it.
when you like back in the day,
MME.
back in the day, I used to record quite a few rappers, especially or bad singers who wanted auto tune on their vocal live, and up to a certain point, auto tune wasn't available as a zero latency plugin. That only came out with Auto-Tune 8, I believe. I have Auto-Tune Evo, which is live now. But at the time, I had an older version, and if you put it on, it gave you like half a second of latency. And it made you speak like you had one of those speech jammers in that kind of makes you talk funny, because you've got this delay going into your ears that really messes up your center of kind of vocal balance. And yeah, I mean, you genuinely would sound like that. For anyone who's worrying that I'm like being derogatory to anybody, that is literally what your brain does when you feed a half second of delay into it, where you can't hear the original vocal because of the headphones. It messes with your speech center. And yeah, no, I don't mix in the direct. That's not the way I work. I never, ever, 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 ever send a vocalist the direct signal, because I tend to work through EQs, compressions, that kind of thing. I make sure it sounds kind of like, radio ready, because it makes them feel good.
Yep.
But
they want to hear how you sound good. I mean, they don't want to hear the dry.
Yeah, they don't
so
want to
much.
hear that. And it's definitely a confidence boosting thing when you can give them that nice Hollywood kind of saturation preamp, double compression, plate vocal, plate reverb, that kind of thing. But you just have to be careful to use zero latency plugins and have a lower latency interface, which is why I spent silly money, like £500, on a PCI Express interface card from RME, because then I can get the latencies down to a point where people just do not notice.
Yep.
Yeah. Sorry. Interrupted you there.
Oh, no. What did we decide on the storage?
Oh, getting back to our conversation earlier. Yeah, so storage, right next to the Crucial one was a Kingston one. 960 gigabytes. I quite like Kingston. I've trusted quite a few of their things. But that brings us to £510, including a little bit of shipping.
I think that is reasonable.
Yeah, but just for fun, where can we shave off a tenner?
Scroll up, please.
That's as high as we go.
Yeah, I just saw it now. I'm watching the stream. Sorry.
Oh, okay, cool. Got you. If...
What about if you do the 212 Evo cooler?
212 Evo. Oh, like Hyper 212 Evo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just maybe it's because this is 40. It's fine, but maybe the Evo is like 32.
I did mention maybe changing out that for something else. Who's it by? Cooler Master.
Yep.
Cooler. Master.
That's right, the first one.
Oh, Hyper 212 Evo. Bingo. Damn it, I was looking forward to playing around with like RAM timings and stuff, but yeah, you got it. What? Why is that so cheap now?
It's like the generic.
No,
like...
I mean like the price has actually gone down by £90 there or whatever it is. Something happened. What did I do? There's no prices available for the Be Quiet power supply. It must be sold out. Literally must have just sold out now. So
just happened. Yeah.
Let's
know that.
Let's go hunting for
We
power
know
supplies.
that we needed to get rid of 10. It was 40. This one's 29. So we got rid of 10.
Yeah. So let's have a look. Power supplies. 80 plus gold was our needs, right? So let's arrange the price from minimum. Oh, right, okay. Might be that we stick with Be Quiet but go with their Pure Power 11, which is actually more cheap, looking at it.
Yeah, 400 watts would be just fine. You don't have a graphics card to power.
Yeah, plus it won't be modular at all at this price point. But if you're going for a budget build, you're not that particular about modular power supply. You can just stick the extra cables in the cable routing section around the back.
Yep.
But yeah, $56.99 for that basic power supply. You can tell that the demand is really high for power supplies.
So what do we got now?
$479. That's actually given us even more scope. You know what?
Are there any peripherals that someone might need?
Working set of ears.
Yeah, obviously.
Um,
I don't know, man. I think Jesus.
I don't know if we can get Jesus for 20 quid.
Jesus. But I think that would be upgrade SSD.
Yeah,
That's
so shall we change that
good
for that
idea.
Sabrent? Because Eduardo in chat was mentioning the Sabrent NVMe SSD, which was a terabyte SSD for about an extra 15, 20 quid on top of this.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Yeah, let's do it. Okay, let's go crazy. Choose storage. Sabrent. David Sabrent. 1 terabyte. Rocket Q. Let's just have a look at this. NVMe. Yes, it is NVMe as well. Apparently Linus Sebastian really recommends this, and it's £109.99. So let's see what that's done to our price. £502.40, and that's including £3.49 for shipping. So it is actually under 500 quid.
Good. Call it done.
Hell, I might just buy one of these.
That's even better than the original build that we had.
That's absolutely steaming. Actually, no, I won't buy one of these because I don't know why I would, but
Because you just want to.
an extra 1 gigabit network card for Dante support. Unfortunately, that's not how Dante works. You can just run Dante on a regular Ethernet, the same as everything else. But if you're going dedicated Dante, you need their PCIe R card, which is nearly $1,000. Because it's a dedicated, like, ultra low latency Dante card that gets the latencies way down. Which is not fair and is massively overpriced and is what it is. But if that's...
It'll go down eventually. Stuff's always like that.
hasn't gone down in the last 5 years. Niche products like PCI Express stuff don't tend to go down in price because nothing's replacing them.
Good call.
The Raydat card, the RME one that I'm using right now, paid about 500 quid for it, and it's been out 7 years, something like that, and it was the same price then, but nothing better has come along because it doesn't affect the sound quality. There is no upgrade path because the actual preamps and converters are a separate thing, and you spend your money on that. And then the Raydat is just a means of getting the digital audio straight to the CPU and straight to the storage solution. So yeah, it's an odd niche, but it's when this is when I start having to explain to people the difference between a preamp, a converter, and an interface, and then saying like your Behringer interface that you have is not actually an interface. It's lots of converters, lots of preamps, and an interface, all in one box. And it's like, well, that's why it's probably not very good per channel.
So I'm pretty impressed, actually. I didn't really have a lot of hopes, but I mean,
Yeah.
man, computers have changed a lot since
Came together well. I
my
mean,
days, dude. I mean, I can
when the
just
next
remember doing
when the
this.
next series of these APUs comes out, they're gonna absolutely kill everything as well.
I remember when APUs were first introduced, everyone was raving about them, and they've only gotten better. Same with Ryzen, only getting better. I mean, thankfully, Intel just completely shit the bed, and So AMD is going to ride high for a couple of years, and then Intel will figure it out, and then Intel will ride high again.
Yeah, and
But
when
I
they
just don't
do,
know.
I think that's probably what we'll end up recommending. But until that point, it looks like we are now AMD boys until such time as Intel get their proverbials together.
Yep.
And I know that's on the horizon, by the way, because I watched some super nerdy stuff, and the problems that Intel have been having have been with what's called extreme ultraviolet lithography. So EUL, extreme, and apparently they've kind of cracked it now. So that things like that take a good 2 or 3 years to then trickle down to actually, now they've got to design equipment to use that with. Then they've
Right.
got to design the processors to use on that equipment. Then they've got to get the entire factories and plants then using that equipment with the new design. So it's not going to happen overnight.
It'll be a couple of years.
Yeah. Whereas
Mhm.
TSMC, who make all of AMD's chips and most of the rest of the world's mobile chips, by the way, they
Right.
already got their act together with that kind of thing, and they're already ahead of the game, which is why AMD are ahead of the game right now. It's not that AMD are ahead, it's that TSMC are ahead, and AMD have designed chips that take advantage of the fact that that is what's happening, because the behind the scenes truth is that Intel own all of their own CPU and chip fabrication plants. So when Intel are doing really well, they are laughing because they don't
Yep.
pay somebody else to make all their own
Yep.
chips. So when they're charging silly money like 400 quid for a desktop processor, and it probably cost them about £3.50 to make because it's
Yeah,
in
the
their own
markup
factory.
is ridiculous. Yep.
They're not being charged by anyone else for it. Whereas AMD, to make an equivalent, they would probably have to pay £12 or £15, and they'd probably sell it for 200, which again is a massive profit, but comparatively not a
Right.
massive profit, because I know that for both of those companies, a lot of the profit, quote unquote, that they make goes back into massive R&D for the
Sure.
for the next generation. Because if they don't pay that money for the next generation's R&D, they're not going to last 10 years. So that's a thing. But yeah, so where AMD are winning right now is that the people they pay to make their chips have got this wonderful technology and won't share it with Intel.
Won't these are my toys. Don't touch them.
Well, here's another thing. Guess what else TSMC make other than AMD's x86 chips?
No idea.
ARM chips.
Oh, dude, you did a stream about this, about Apple
Yeah.
switching to ARM.
But yeah, ARM is in everything that's not currently using Intel designs. ARM is the kind of. ARM does everything from literal toasters these days to like full on supercomputers. It's crazy. And the middle of the market is mobile devices mostly. And TSMC make way more mobile devices than Intel make desktop devices, that's for sure.
Sure.
So, yeah, there's an industry where they're absolutely winning. And the other major player in that space is Samsung. So,
I have a Samsung phone.
yeah. And Samsung are one of the few companies like Intel that can make all their own chips.
Yeah.
And they don't wait on anybody. But then Samsung are a huge company that literally make like toasters and washing machines and
They're in everything electronic.
yeah, so they make all their own chips for all their own domestic stuff too.
Yep. I got a Samsung monitor, by the way, as well. I mean,
Yeah. Decent. I mean, I've had Samsung monitors over the years and they've all been absolutely solid.
yep.
They're,
By the way, Marty, I would say yes. This is a publish, save and publish.
oh yes, I will. And this has already been saved, so I'm just going to copy and paste this in the chat. Do I ever think we'll see ARM chips in a consumer PC? It's possible. I'd give it at least 5 years before that could be a possibility, because we've got to wait for Apple to do it first. But this is a big long rant that I went on about probably last week, where once a company has compiled all their code for like iOS, which is ARM based, then they jump over to the Mac, which is also going to be ARM based. It's not that much of a huge stretch to then go to Windows if it's ARM based. Because the way that then, if you've made the code, let's say that, just for argument's sake, let's say that x86, which is the desktop stuff, is all kind of, I don't know, German. And then all the ARM stuff is French. So if you compile your code for one version of French, like the mobile stuff, like let's say that's French Canadian, and then going from that to the desktop ARM, which is just kind of French, they're different, sure, but they're not massively different. But once you've made all your stuff for that, doing it for another variant of French wouldn't be that difficult. Whereas translating, French to German, whole different process.
I mean, it's pretty incredible. I don't remember what the law is stated. I'm sure you'll be able to name the law, where like everything just doubles and triples in performance.
Moore's law. Yeah.
Yeah, but I can't imagine that can go on forever.
No,
I mean,
it can't in the way that things stand, because of heat entropy, and as components get smaller and smaller and smaller, that's the thing where there's only so small you can get before you run into problems. But then
it's like a plateau, right?
Well, that was what they said was going to happen 20 years ago, though, because like they found that a laser is this wide. How do we make components that are thinner than the laser, and yet we're like 1,000th of a laser thin right now? They found a way. There's
there's always going to be a way. It's just, I mean, at some point, I mean, Jesus, you can make music on one of these now, Adam.
Well, that's true.
All right. I mean,
nobody's made good music on them yet, but
yeah, I know
that might be the next
thing. But you can, but you can, and like my wife will do her photo editing on her Samsung Galaxy S9, and I'm just sitting there going, I still think of Photoshop being 5.5 plus.
Yeah.
I still have memories where your desktop computer is for the internet. You use a phone to call people. Everything is still segmented for me, and I'm only going to be 35 years old. But I just for me, just realistically speaking, there has to be a point where it just doesn't matter anymore. Just buy a damn GPU or CPU, because it's going to be fucking awesome, unless you have very specific needs, where you're a professional videographer and you need to be editing some video ASAP, or you are an enthusiast and you want to run Doom Eternal at 4K at 120 FPS.
We're already kind of there. That's the thing, is that we are already, for most people, we're already kind of there. And the world is just taking a couple of years to catch up. Like, consoles now can play most games at a reasonable level, and if you disagree, you're the enthusiast. That's the thing, and you are in a relative minority.
That's me.
Which is completely fair, as long as you can hold your hands up and admit, yes, I'm an enthusiast, and yes, I'm in the minority. There's nothing wrong with that. Right. But it is the state of play right now that most people either have a PC that's sat in the corner that's not been used for a while because they don't care, or they just don't have a PC anymore and they have an iPad and an iPhone and a TV. And
but I mean, the other thing for me personally, as a desktop user, is comfort. I just cannot fathom doing something on a phone that requires maybe some finesse.
Yeah.
Because like when I watch my wife do the photo editing stuff, it's all like broad strokes with the finger, and I'm just sitting there going, oh, if you just use Photoshop, I mean, you have like a mouse pointer precision. But then like you just said, I'm the enthusiast, where my mind is completely like, I want to have the detail, I want to have full control. And she's like, I just want to make my picture look a little better. Filter.
Yeah. Well,
totally different mindset.
that's it.
And so I'm totally the dude. I want to play 60 FPS minimum, but I want 120 always. I mean, I'm totally different guy.
Hmm.
And it's funny now where when we grew up in the late 90s and early 2000s, where you had a computer to play complicated games because you couldn't play RTS worth of shit on controller games back then.
Yeah.
When they made StarCraft for N64, I'd rather just cut myself to death with paper cuts.
I,
And
People are gonna hate
I
me,
don't know
but I
how
still laugh at GoldenEye 64 and it's 3 frames a second. It's
20, yeah, dude,
just
dude, 23 on a good day, one explosion, it's in single digits.
yeah. That's
Um,
unacceptable. But even so, I mean, that's not the whole point of the thing. I mean, yeah, but if you want 30 or 60 FPS gaming now, most people do it on phones. And I mean,
that's fucking amazing to me. It's
yeah.
just
But then to a lot of people, the concept of what even is a game it has changed massively. Because where it used to just be your only choice was buy a console or your only choice was buy a PC, now the phone you probably already have, you can start playing like Candy Crush or whatever. Because a lot of people who want to play a game, they don't want to be a gamer. They just want something to distract them with.
yeah, that's also a good point.
Yeah, I mean, there
And
are
that's
plenty of
funny
people who are
too.
gamers, sure, but for every one who is, there's probably 20 who aren't and don't care.
That's the funny thing too, because as a gamer, I mean, I like to play games, but I would prefer to sit down and get immersed in the game or not at all.
Hmm.
And right now, I don't play games because I have zero fucking time for it. Because I can't just sit down and dabble, dabble, dabble. I'm gonna start getting into it. I'm gonna want to play it for X amount of hours, and I'm gonna completely fluff off anything that I should actually be doing. Like Quake, right? I used to play Quake every day for a couple hours at the end of the day, just to maintain my skills. I haven't touched Quake in 2 months, and now I almost don't even want to play because I'm going to get into a pub server and get just destroyed because all my Twitch muscles have sort of atrophied, and I'm not in it right now. I'm out of the loop.
Yeah.
And so, as a gamer who wants to play games, I'm not buying Last of Us, Marty. You can't do that. Uh, don't do that.
Yeah.
Last of Us is a dumpster fire. Um, but like you're totally right. Like my wife will play like the mobile version of SimCity, where it's just finger collecting coins, doing mission or whatever. I guess missions. I don't know what they're called.
Yeah,
And that's great.
stupid pay to play, wait 5 minutes stuff. I had to stop myself playing games like that because they would rob me of my time. Because they're so addictive and they're like, come back in 15 minutes and do this and
Ha.
yeah.
Dude, it's legitimately that it's scary in a way. So I mean, full disclosure, I used to be. Oh, by the way, guys, I quit my day job. I'm now full time music.
Yes.
Yay!
Yeah, congratulations, Scott. Everybody in chat, congratulations to Scott for finally becoming a full-time nerd like me.
And what the fuck was I talking about? Time, right? Oh, I used to be a editor in chief, copywriter, working with content, stuff like that, in various niches. And one of the niches that I worked in, a couple of years ago, was the niche of iGaming. Now, iGaming, that's not anything Mac related. That's the politically correct term for online slots, these kind of games, right? And I had to read articles learning about how they have gamified online slots. They make missions, they make player avatars, they awards, right?
Yeah.
Achievements, and that's how they get people in. You're just playing a game. You're just playing a game. Oh, a couple more spins, you're gonna have X amount of or whatever for a couple free spins and stuff like that. And thanks, Marty. And it was scary to me when they again, it's like it's called the box experiment or something with the rat, where the rat just keeps hitting the lever until the food comes. All the rat knows is he's got to hit the lever and the food will come eventually. and they randomized how many times the rat had to hit the lever before the food would come. And so it turned into one time the rat hits the lever, the food comes, and then it's 2 times, and then it's 8 times, and then they make him sit there for 20 minutes. And the frightening thing about it was the rat never stopped.
Mm.
And that's crazy. And then now they've done that with games, with cellular games, mobile games, where it's the same exact concept essentially, but pay to win. Here's the paywall. Oh, you want to have these 1,000 coins? $3. People are like, oh, $3, big deal. But these mobile companies are just like literally with a rake, just like this, because no one values $3.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, you spend $100
Oh yeah.
on this stuff.
Terrifying. Yeah.
What's up?
Warren's in chat. Hi, Warren.
Hey, Warren. Maybe Warren wants to come on the stream for a couple minutes. Bring him on in.
If you want to invite him to this Skype chat, then I can always add more people on.
Warren, you want to come say hi?
Yeah. Let's not turn this into another 4-hour stream, though. But
we still got a couple hours left.
Yeah.
I could bring him in.
Open conversation. Yeah. Yeah. There's so much going on at the moment. It's been absolutely bananas. But yes.
Bananas? That's funny.
Bananas. Yes. Watch me. Watch me build. Watch bananas.
Let's see here.
So yeah. The whole switching system is now wired in. So
how do I actually bring him into this call? See, this is how ignorant I am of technology.
There should be a button somewhere. Yeah, big button that says person plus, add people to the call. I'll do it.
Alrighty, fair enough.
Da, 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 da.
All right.
Oh, hello. It's dropped you.
Warren, the best dude ever. Warren.
Hello, am I on it?
All right.
Hello, you will be any second. There we go.
Yep. I guess the headphones may have to put them on.
Oh, hello.
Hello, am I on it? Hello. Oh, I put headphones on. Hold on.
Oh, geez, it's going to keep changing it.
We should get Adam on headphones as well.
Oh, hello. Yeah, well, you probably should. I'll switch that over to just be Warren.
This is great. Jose's like marvelous.
Yes.
Jose's like marvelous.
Marvelous, marvelous.
Way more than I ever used to.
So whether if I turn this down, I should hear you both on Skype. Yes, is that correct?
Yeah, that's
Adam?
right. There we go. There we go.
Yeah, there you go. All right,
go.
marvelous. How are you?
There
Marvelous.
well.
How are you?
Fantastic. There we go. Lovely.
But I literally opened up Skype to call Scott, and I had my mail program over on my second screen, and I was about to write Adam, and you're both on at the same time. It's like
we're actually going to be signing off here pretty quick. We were just talking about a nice starter build for an audio PC who's just started mixing, and we just completed it actually.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we put together a super modern production PC for 500 quid. Which is...
Really?
Yeah, we've been talking it out for the last hour and we got there. We managed it. 500 quid and you can probably do a full album on this.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
It's amazing what you can do now.
It's scary.
If you're smart enough to know how to put it all together.
Listen, I gotta be honest. Adam basically did all the selecting and decisions. I'm just the guy going, yeah.
You got all the reflected glory.
Well, that's the hope.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Well, yeah. How's things in Produce Like a Pro world?
It's nutty. You know, we've got a big summer sale at the moment, so
yes, indeed.
Just answering questions and emails and all that kind of stuff. It's like my head's going to explode.
Which reminds me, I'm going to drop this in chat.
That's me answering questions. You know what I mean? It's like I don't have anybody do it for me, so trying to keep up with it is a lot of work.
I can say, yeah, anyone who emails, Produce Like a Pro or emails Warren will get a response from Warren. It's really something that doesn't happen a lot anymore. So got a big respect to Warren for taking the time to respect other people's time to actually give a legitimate answer. So
I mean, that was the whole point of today's video, was the fact that, I'd seen, I don't want this to be too pointed, I'd seen somebody like post a photo of their house that they grew up in, and it was this huge detached house, but they were playing it off like it was so tough, and Adam, you know what it's like. I don't know how you grew up, Adam, but you know, my house, my parents' house was actually 584 square feet. I don't know what that is in meters, because when I was a kid, they still used to talk about feet. And it was a 2-bedroom house. My studio, actually, just to give you an idea, my studio is actually bigger than the house I grew up in. This is 600 and something square feet. My parents' house that they had up until I left home was one lounge, which was two, like a little settee and another tiny settee and a TV in the corner, and then there was a bedroom next door, and then there was a bathroom, and then there was another bedroom, and then there was the kitchen with the door in, and it was just this little semi-detached bungalow, and I saw this guy's post, well, person's post, and it was all sort of like, oh my god, and I just was like, it's not me, this is Adam's being British, yes, being from the UK. It's very difficult to use that kind of upbringing, because but yeah, I was just like, it's why I started Produce Like a Pro, and it's just why I started doing this. I don't know what your guys' motivation would be. I'd be intrigued to see what it was, but I felt like, growing up like in a really nice area, but growing up really poor, I just saw all these kids like, getting a Les Paul for their first guitar, Daddy, I'd like a guitar. Oh, well,
play it for 2 weeks and quit.
Yeah, exactly. And, it seems like that's YouTube, isn't it? Like so many people like reinvent themselves on YouTube as, 1 minute they're telling you about this privileged, incredible background, and then they're realizing it doesn't play out too well. So then they suddenly become poor. And it's just like, I saw this post and I was like, dude, come on, give me a break.
I've just sent.
Sent
my first.
You'd like to learn like why we got started. You'd be curious to know why we started. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I want to know. Yeah, I want to know your sort of where you came from, because obviously Adam coming from more up in the north. I'd be intrigued. What did your parents do? I know a little bit more about you, Scott, and I will, because you've shared me some stuff. But Adam, I don't know anything about your background.
Okay. Right. So I came from a relatively poor family as well. That yes, we had 2 floors, but typically northern, the stairs were like this. They weren't really stairs; they were just a glorified ladder. And very, very small house. And I was saying to Scott earlier, I've lived on a major bus route my entire life. I am a proper city boy from a proper council estate, and for whatever reason, as a kid, I just read everything and was just the class nerd, and always have been, always will be. And because of that, we were a very poor family, but I was so obsessed that I was kind of, I don't know if I was above average, but for my area, I certainly was. And because of that, I ended up with a full scholarship to a grammar school, because my parents couldn't afford that. But I just obsessed all the time about whatever it was. And then at 11 years old, my dad gave me his old copy of a Stratocaster. And I still have it, and I've literally just sent it to a luthier to get worked on, because I still play it. Still my number one guitar. Still play it all the time.
Wonderful.
And from there, I learned how to play, got into bands, but never lost that nerd thing of asking every question. And to the point where people get sick of me, they're like, well, if you shut up, here's a book. And so several years ago, I'd opened the studio because that's my thing, is how do I get the better this, the better that? But how do I spend money? Because I've never had money. I've always worked and worked and worked. I'm a workaholic. I mean, it seems to run in this trade.
I hear you.
Yeah, it really does. And
well, amongst guys like us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And from there, I reconnected with an old school friend who is Liam, who is my co-host on the channel. He's a business manager as well. And between us, we opened up a media company and we did a lot of web design, video production, and we built a company up to 11, 12 people. And out of nothing, we literally had one Canon 5D Mark II camera and one cheap boom microphone. And we got better and better jobs. In every better job, we bought a new piece of equipment until we had the equipment that we needed. And then we started taking on more staff. Then we rented an office, because up to that point, we've been working out of a disused factory. And
Wow.
yeah, so yeah, we really did work from nothing. And I think that counts for a lot of the drive that I have, is that nothing has been ever given to me, that if I want something, I've got to keep going and going and going. But I've always been so enthusiastic about the stuff that as I learn things, I want to tell people stuff. And we realized 5 years ago, 6 years ago, that we had these cameras because of the production company. Why don't I tell the camera instead of telling one person who sat in the studio slightly terrified that I'm giving all this information out? Exactly. And then I just did it because I wanted to do it. I never had any aspirations to be a full-time YouTube personality. That wasn't a thing for me. That was what famous people do. You know, that's an unattainable, lofty goal. But I didn't care. I was just like, well, so let's make the video quality better. How do we do that? Let's make the sound quality better. How do we do that? Let's watch the last 100 videos. You've been stuttering, Adam. Stop stuttering. Get to the point. Speak more clearly. And, you know, slowly built it up. And we've got to this point now where people are like, oh, have you always been like this? No. But...
That's so funny.
That's exactly how it's been for me, is that I've always been this kind of effervescent nerd who's happy to tell you the ins and outs of anything, because I read all the ins and outs of everything because it's what makes me tick.
You get all the information, you want to share it. That's cool.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I don't want to kind of put on some impression of, oh, I do this to educate the children or any pretentiousness like that, but I just want to tell people about stuff that I've learned.
Yeah, we were talking about. Sorry, Scott. We were just talking about this with Fluff earlier. I was saying, this is the first video, the one I just did, where I've ever used any kind of like title that I knew that we could potentially just get people to do some looky-loo, because we called the video was it My Confession or something like that, just to sort of talk about that. And I know that's what you're supposed to do. You know, you're supposed to, like, you know, to have these clickbait videos. One of the ones that always gets me is, like, you know, people when they're getting paid a lot of money to do a sponsorship thing and they pretend they're educating you. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's very difficult, hard pill for me to swallow, you know, being British and the upbringing that I had. It's just tough, isn't it? You know, growing up in England, you know, I've got a nice, you know, upper middle class accent because I grew up in an upper middle area, but we were super poor. And for me also to talk about that, because I don't want to shame my mother, who's still alive a year or two ago, but, you know, it's not, I don't want to, you know what I mean? Because I grew up happy for the most part, you know what I mean? We definitely had a lot of struggles, and I don't want to talk about those publicly because it's not anybody's business. But ultimately, I'm the man I am now because of all of those great things my father did and what he was able to provide for us. You know, he was a painter and a sculptor. So, you know, I always make the joke that's like having a bass player for a dad. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, it was like feast or famine when we were kids. But it's such a tough one to walk that line, isn't it? Maintain, you know, because it's hard to like put yourself across in such a hugely honest way, because you're also, it's like making amends. You know what they say about making amends? When you come to somebody and you have to make amends for what you did, you're not supposed to go there and make them feel bad. It's not a case of like, I'm really sorry I did that thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That being honest in the world of YouTube and sharing our backgrounds and our experiences, I don't want to like make my brothers and sisters feel bad, and be like, "Wow, we grew up really poor," because who did all kinds of jobs to kind of help us get by. It's what I mean. It's such a weird thing, isn't it? It's like to describe your upbringing because. What is the Oscar Wilde quote? A man's past is his contribution to the future.
Yeah. Good quote. Like it.
So he was smart and Irish.
Wow. This is going to be a can of worms. I have talked about a couple of topics on my channel before that dealt with general terms like perfectionism and how it gets in the way of creativity and stuff like that. Just when I identify those things about myself. But music, it goes all the way back for me in that music was the internal escape from the reality that I had as a kid. I had a bilateral cleft lip and palate. So my struggle started from literally the moment I was born. Life, my grandfather told me the story where the doctor came in and said, he may not make it. This was 1985. And I had a very extreme case of cleft palate where all the things that could have gone wrong did. So no roof of my mouth. I had no upper lip. My nose was sunk inside my skull. Trouble swallowing, and means trouble breathing. Can't breastfeed normally. So all these things, it's already hard enough to have a newborn, but now you have one that has incredible needs in 1985, right? Where it was different. Now it's like a kid has what I have now. The technology is so amazing now. Very happy for that. There was no Warren spoke a little bit about it in the video today, talking about a safe space, and not in like the weaponized version of that word, just a place to go and hang out. I did not have that because my parents unfortunately didn't stay together. So family life was interesting. I'll just put it like that. School sucked on a massive scale because kids are kids, and that's how that rolls, right? And so I became very introverted, much like not like Adam. I don't want to say that, but I just mean I had very individual pursuits: reading, music, stuff that I could just do by myself.
Oh yeah.
People don't
You've
bother
actually
me.
hit the nail on the head. I was
and that's
quite
where music came
introverted,
in.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough then. Yeah, so I'm not a party goer. I don't give a damn. It's not interesting to me. And I'm like that to this day. I happily stay home and work on music. So music just for me in the beginning was a coping mechanism just to get away from the crap that was my daily life as a kid, right? It got older and older, and then Adam talks about having to work for everything. My dad was just like, dude, stop complaining. No one gives a rip. Go to work. And my dad is a hardcore, get your job done, keep your mouth shut. No one cares. Just get the work done. Right. And he's a results oriented guy. And, I used to hate that about him when I was younger, obviously. I was like, I just don't want to do it. He's like, shut up. I'm paraphrasing for humor right now, okay? But just to make it interesting to listen to. I told you what you need to do, go do it. Oh, you want to ride the snowmobile this weekend? Well, here's what you got to do. Why can't I just ride the snowmobile like every other kid? But now those lessons, I don't sit here and be like, oh, I had a cleft palate, I should be treated special, or I had a cleft palate, my feelings are hurt, I should get space. It's just like, so what? You had a cleft palate, you can still read, move your hands, you got both arms, 2 legs. You already got one up on a lot of people who maybe don't have what you have. So YouTube, much for the same reason that Adam did. It was like, hey, no one's doing videos about how to use. I know how to use Cakewalk. I'll make a video about using Cakewalk. To this day, my top viewed videos every month are Cakewalk. Years ago, and people are still viewing them. And so music just for me was a way to make it through personal struggles, and it's so deep and dear to my heart that it's the only thing I actually care about. I've been like a job hopper. I do a job, I learn how to do it, I do it well, get bored, quit. That's literally my job history. I have pages and pages of past jobs. I just get bored and quit. But music is that inexhaustible well where, okay, you did a mix well this time, but the next mix you're gonna do, good luck, buddy. You know, so there's always something to learn, always a new technique to try. You can always get better. You can always learn something new. And so it's just that thing that I never get bored of. And sharing that stuff on YouTube is just fun for me. I'm much like Adam. I had zero of anything when I started YouTube.
Yeah.
And today I just had a video go out where Glenn did intro on my channel. And a year ago, who the hell I was. I just happened, was watching him like everybody else, just watch him. He's funny, he's cool, has great content. And now, like, he was on my channel today. I mean, if anyone who says they start YouTube and they plan this kind of stuff, I think they're just flat liars. Because you can't plan stuff like that. Never in a million years did I think I'd have.
When
Warren
are you going to have
here.
me on your channel? Come on.
Not yet. I'm working on it. We got a Skype conversation about that coming up.
I was talking to you before Glenn was. What's going on? God. Adam, talk to him.
How very dare you?
Scroll up a little bit on that Skype conversation. I think you're going to see a couple of ideas for a Warren interview.
Yeah. I do have to get going. I have to eat something. I haven't eaten anything. I was, at least I did fulfilled half of what I was trying to do. I was trying to Skype with you, and we're doing it. And I wanted to email Adam, but I'm talking with him. Adam, so I know the whole world is watching us or going to watch it, but yes, let's figure to do with that company or two. And
yes.
Scott, we need to get into the old finalization.
We can do it right now. You go eat. We can connect. No big deal.
It'll be after food. But how much later are you staying up? In how much longer from now?
From this moment right now, at least 2 hours.
Probably going to call the stream quite soon because we did what we set out to do. So
unbelievable.
Happy days. And the first time we did this video, it went on for 4 hours. I don't think I've got the stamina to do that again. So yes.
But I have to say though, one thing that's really cool about all this is, through talking with Glenn and Warren, is I got to meet Adam. And Adam and I are ridiculous right now. We're just like these little buddies who are all through the day just chatting on Discord or Skype, and now streaming all the time. And I have to just publicly say that Adam is a really knowledgeable guy. And anytime I'm talking to him, I just feel like this, because I'm honored to be around him, so I can learn from him, and hopefully, I can return the favor with some things that I may or may not know.
Oh, yeah.
But this is really the cool thing, and what Warren talks about in the video today, or why he created the community. Here's a great example right here. You get the like-minded people who all have different backgrounds and different strengths, helping each other do something better. So I'm all about that, and I'm very appreciative to both Warren, Glenn, and Adam. So it's pretty cool. So I just want that. Adam is probably gonna. Oh, yep, he is the color of a cherry now. So
I would say the check's in the mail, but we know it'd get stolen.
Slow clap there. That's a good joke.
Your check didn't get stolen, so.
No, thank goodness. Yeah,
Scott drinking whiskey.
Yep.
Yes, to celebrate that he's now a full timer.
So in like 2 hours, he's going to be like,
yeah.
Nope.
So yeah, my ridiculous expense today has been this beast. If you can see the 4 screens over there.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm setting up our full live streaming setup. So in a couple of weeks, we'll be able to do full live streams of studio sessions.
Wow.
So that's all coming together.
Incredible.
But yeah, let's try and put that down.
All right, I'm going to foxtrot Oscar.
Cool.
All right.
Well, you have a marvelous time, and we're going to end the stream.
I had a friend who was a police officer in England, and that's what they would say. they'd be like, "Yeah, it's Foxtrot
Yes,
Oscar,"
yeah.
when they were leaving somewhere.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'll message you, Warren. I'm sure we can chat a little bit today after you eat.
Marvelous. Wonderful
Marvelous.
seeing you both. Wonderful
You
talking
too,
to you
mate.
both. I really appreciate it.
Fantastic.
See you in a bit.
Talk to you all soon. Thanks.
See ya.
Bye.
And Clark. And that is Warren frozen on screen. So that's probably
Yay,
Yay.
Warren. Warren is a cool guy.
Mr. Warren Hwart, ladies and gentlemen. And it's that. Oh Jesus! It made you the most low quality, and now it's like big.
That's
Scott.
awesome. Like this.
Yeah, that is probably a good time to end the stream, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you very much for tuning in. It's been hilarious, and I've posted the link in the chat, and I'm going to put it in the description as well for the PC build for £500. And like we said, if you decide that like that would work for you with a graphics card or whatever, you go ahead and do that by all means. But that's an extension of that build. This is what an audio producer would need. So, yes, hope you've enjoyed it. I'm going to put out another video tomorrow because God only knows I've got so much content to throw at you all. It's wonderful. But
I have a question for chat.
For the chat?
I do. Chat. Adam and I are thinking of doing weekly streams. What the hell should we talk about?
Drum roll.
You gotta wait for chat now.
Wait for the latency to kick in.
Awkward silence.
Oh, time is it my time? 10 o'clock. Just about got time to jam on the Les Paul a little bit before I go home, so that's nice. Oh, tomorrow's gonna suck. Tomorrow in the UK is when all the pubs are allowed to reopen.
Oh, it's gonna be celebration day.
Well, that's the problem, is that I've agreed to help a friend of mine who I used to be his bar manager for to run the place tomorrow. Because we don't know what to expect, because there's loads of rules, loads of laws that we have to stick to. Like, people have to be a meter apart, people have to be sat down, there's no live music, there's no loud music, there's no this, no that.
Well,
So,
couple of pints and that'll go out the window real fast.
well, exactly, so that's going to be interesting. That's going to be the major malfunction.
What was the question again? Adam and I are considering doing weekly streams. What should we talk about?
Grab your Yamaha. Yes, Chris, yes. Oh. Unfortunately, I only have my Yamaha now. This is mine now. This is Chris in chat's old bass, and I'm gonna hand it over to him at some point soon. But yeah, it's one of the old like PJ Yamaha basses. The strings look like they've been dipped in the sea, so you might might want new ones on that. But yeah,
So people just like it when we're chit chatting about the universe.
Yeah.
The meaning of life.
I wonder if we can do some sort of play on British and Russian relations or something, and talk to that.
I mean, to be fair, I am American, so that is low-hanging fruit right there.
Yes, you are the thing that the 1950s truly feared. You are the communist defector.
You're funny.
No, I mean like in a semi-serious kind of way. Like in modern politics, no one cares, but
yeah,
in 1950s politics, you probably would have been burnt at the stake.
Well, yeah, but I mean, Russia's not communist right now. More or less.
More or less. Well, that's up for debate. But
yeah, but that's. I hear what you're saying, but I mean, we could always make fun of each other. Just like I'm American, you're British, English, British, whatever. It's whatever. Broad question. Well, I mean, obviously, we're not going to touch beards, and things like that.
I mean, we could actually do a thing where we pick a topic for the week.
All right.
Yeah, so, go off on tangents and such. Maybe talk about, I don't know, a specific That's something we could do. Yeah, we could find a piece of software just to start with where we both get a copy of it and both try it out on stream, because I could definitely patch audio through from my side.
What kind of software?
Like, start with amp sim, start simple, but then maybe like virtual drums or crazy synths or...
Synths would be great. One of the things I'm looking at is a MIDI controller, finally, because I'm going to be getting a proper studio desk that'll have the tray for a nice MIDI keyboard. Contact library evaluations. Thomas, posted the PC part licker.
Yeah, unfortunately that was about 2 hours ago. Sorry, buddy.
But it's a really nice build, dude. It's way better than what we thought it was going to be.
Yeah, for 500 quid, including case, power supply, and all the rest.
Yep.
Yeah, well impressed. It's behind me now. If I
Contact library, I think I use Contact more than you do. I would probably think.
Recently, I would say that's probably true. I used to use it quite a lot, but less so recently.
Because I'm doing the MIDI bass, and I don't use Contact drums, right? Well, I do sometimes. Oh man, some symphonic stuff. Virtual suggestion boxes, I think, would be the Discord, right? Maybe we could do. Adam's got a really cool Discord set up.
Yes, we have Discord
where we could do like a channel there where people can vote.
Yeah, making contact libraries. No, that's not something.
No way.
Not something you can do in an hour. Not whilst.
I don't know f all about it either. It's complicated. Well, not complicated. I just don't know anything about it.
Yeah, I have a vague idea. I kind of toyed with that about 15 years ago, and
that's relevant.
Well, Contact hasn't really changed. I know it's got new features, but no, it's as much work as you think it is. So yep. I got about 2% of the way and then just went, nope.
I'm done. I quit. Yeah.
Sorry, that noise was bobblehead.
Yeah, Thomas, it's lots of fun talking with Adam on computers. He is a proper knowledgeable guy.
I do like my computers. I'm very much looking forward to building a studio computer on stream. That's going to be a lot of fun. So,
you're going to be with me. I haven't made the dive yet on Premiere. I'm thinking about it still.
Oh yeah.
I want to get my studio expenses more or less cleaned up so I understand what is acceptable overhead.
Of course.
And man, you could. Oh, that'd be so funny. Like today, Adam tries to explain to Scott how to do something simple in Adobe Premiere.
You know what? That's not the worst idea, because I was thinking about doing something like this with somebody, because I've done a few live video edits in Premiere, but actually having someone to go over the best workflow, because there's a few ways of doing things.
Dude, I am completely hopeless in Premiere. Resolve, I am like a click user, like all mouse. I don't know what, I'm just clicking drag thing there.
Honestly, I use about 4 keys on the keyboard in Premiere, and that's about it. I'm mostly a mouse guy as well, but because I kind of know where everything is, I'm pretty quick.
Fair enough.
But all it is for me is flicking between 2 different tools actually, usually. And I've got stop, backwards, and forwards. And backwards is quite useful because you don't need to then skip around. But like,
I think we can do that then. I mean, we can have I know in Discord it's not entirely comfortable to do voting. What you have to do is basically you have to do like 5 messages and choose an emoticon, and they just click the one that they want, and that's how they vote.
Oh, okay, yeah. So you pick some emoticons, and then whichever one gets the most.
Exactly. So different topics and stuff like that. So I think anything ranging from obviously plugins, amp sims, how to use Adobe Premiere if I end up getting it.
Yeah.
Shortcuts. I'm sorry, I'm reading the chat. Or vice versa. I mean, maybe some specific questions you might have about whatever. Dude, there's nothing that I know that you don't know. I mean, that's the hard thing.
Well, you know things about getting great guitar tones that still sometimes elude me. Like I've had to go the expensive gear route, well, because that was the way for me, and you've just gone, nope, don't need that, and I've gone, well, damn. Oh, right, okay,
I would have done the same thing, trust me, if I had the means.
yeah.
Now the difference is I just all time. The time has been my currency.
Oh, I've had the
Because
time too, but for whatever reason, I didn't get what you got with the method and the results, because you're quite a methodical man, and I can be quite impulsive. In case you hadn't noticed.
nope, never noticed it. Plastic bag.
Yeah, squirrel.
The squirrel.
Yeah.
Squirrel.
The way that
Everyone's talking about this BBC Symphonic Orchestra. I mean, that's $600. I mean, I'm sure it's going to be awesome for 600. I think it's 600. But I mean, again, I'm not a professional composer. I do black metal, and you can get away with like
General
nonsense synths when you're working in metal, because the guitars and the drums take center stage.
I do still like the feel of semi-decent strings in metal.
Of course, I mean, I use East-West, the gold.
In that case, you're
East-West gold. East-West gold. I've experimented with other contact libraries. I have orchestral tools, the Metropolis Arc 1. That thing is awesome for French horns. You need them in violins and metal. Yeah, it's all about string sections in metal.
Yeah.
And
no
sections.
viola, no metal.
No viola, no metal. That's cool too. Yeah, I think also Adam is interested in what do you do besides YouTube? I mix and master metal. So, and then obviously create courses for Pro Mix Academy.
Yeah. Scott is entirely a mix and master engineer. That like people send him stuff, so he doesn't actually have to talk to them or touch them or be anywhere near them. I have to do babysitting.
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised because I don't want to say scolded, but I have sent things back. I'm like, re-record these guitars. These are bollocks.
Yeah, but you don't have to literally sit in the same room with them and go, now, little David, that was a bit crap, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, there's a communication art form, I guess. We can also talk about this too. There's a communication art form to getting the best out of people, even through text, because it could be even more difficult, because it always depends how the person interprets what you wrote.
Yeah.
But I mean, I enjoyed the creative process of mixing because it's a problem. It's a big Rubik's Cube every time you get a new mix to mix, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I love mixing, and mastering is just like I use plugins in a certain way to get my sound.
Right.
That's that. Spitfire, Swam, interesting. Strings, I just use mostly East-West Gold.
If you know how to get a great result out of something, it can often be counterintuitive to go and find new sounds that... Ugh. But yeah.
Again, that's the plastic bag syndrome. I mean... Like I have a private Discord for the Guitar Tone Mastery guys, and every week a comment pops up from a new guy or just a guy who's been there for a while, just going, Scott, thank you so much. I get it now. I have thousands of IRs, and most of them I don't need.
Yeah.
Or whatever, where they get a great understanding of how to use the tools that they have, which is where Adam's course comes into play with Reaper. I'm watching it going, damn. That's impressive, or wow, I didn't know you could do that. And it's just a really interesting time to be alive because just keep in mind that the old marketing tricks still work. The flashy, new coat of paint, people dig it, man. They like, oh, this is the new string section. Let's go buy that. I mean, cool, but I mean, you're not Hans Zimmer. Most likely, you most likely don't need it. It's all IR based. Pursuit. Did either of you? Oh boy, this one's for you, Adam.
The winner
Oh,
in
you
the
typing out?
Westworld competition.
No. After that.
If you're looking to learn Reaper, Kenny Joy has Reaper Mania on YouTube. You've come to the wrong channel. This is Adam Steele and Hot Pole Studios, and I'm kind of the other Reaper guy. And yeah, Kenny does things in his own way, but he's more like an encyclopedia, where I am much more like I actually walk you through what's happening.
For example, like I'm the course is massive, by the way. I haven't been able to watch all the videos, but like when you're talking about what you're doing and then later on you demonstrate it, that's really important for guys like me. I'm like 100% visual learner, so you can talk about it as long as you want. I'm not getting it, but the talking about it and then demonstrating it, I'm like, got it. So I personally really like that.
I mean, it's a fair thing to say that information is all out there. But, I mean, in that case, why not just sit down and read the user manual? It's all there.
Again, though, I mean, a guy like me, though,
how about
I could read or be told something, again, until I'm blue in the face, but until I see it being used in an application, I don't internalize it to where that I can start thinking creatively where I could use it. So it's like text-based manuals. I don't get it. It doesn't work for me.
Yes.
Team Adam. That's right. You can get you a T-shirt. Team Adam.
Yeah.
Team Adam is Liff. Like bass is Liff. Team Adam is Liff.
Quite. But unfortunately, bass is Liff.
Bass is Liff. Team Adam, bass is Liff. Yeah, that's going to be good.
Oh, I think you might appreciate this while we're on the subject of bass. Oh, I'm getting old. That's not the thing. This is my number 2 bass right now. This is an Ibanez ATK. Look at the size of that bridge. That's huge.
Good God.
But I got this for 90 quid at a second-hand store. And I got my files out and changed it and restrung it, so it's now tuned down to a low B. It's got 130 gauge bottom string on, but it's a 4-string.
How much does that thing weigh?
Not that much, actually. I can hold it with like 2 fingers.
Oh, that's impressive. It looks massive.
I think that's camera perspective. It's kind of it's about the size of a Music Man Stingray.
Oh, all right, gotcha.
It's kind of like a Stingray copy. It's got like a triple coil pickup, which is kind of cool. But yeah, it can go like metal.
Oh wow, nice.
Yeah.
No, Marty, bass is Liff. It's a Glenn Fricker joke.
Yeah.
A long time ago, someone wrote a comment incorrectly, Liff instead of life, so he made a T-shirt called "Bass is Liff."
Yes, but yeah, this thing was grossly down tuned and dirty. So you can still do the Billy Sheehan thing on it. Anyway, it's probably a good time to call the stream because I'm at the studio and I have to drive home.
Yeah, you got to drive home.
I live a long way away, and I've got to deal with drunken idiots tomorrow. Oh, it has a blue, ugly blue thing. That's a pick holder, which is, so when I'm playing live, I have a pick holder right there, and on my other bass, I have a pick holder further down, which is where I usually prefer it, but the controls on this bass, it didn't make sense. Because I play a lot of like covers and wedding stuff, or I used to anyway. And if you're playing a song and you switch mid-song to a pick, you don't want to be screwing around trying to find one on a mic stand, because I'm on a wireless kit. I might be halfway across the stage. But if I can go...
You might be in the audience, Adam, headbanging with all of the wedding participants.
Yeah, so I'll do that, and then in the middle of a show, I've got several in there. So if I'm too busy, I need to flick to fingers, I'll just drop it and go back to my hand. Or if I've got a second, it's the end of the song, I'll place it back in gently. It's
Thomas, I do not have any instruments because my instruments are garbage.
oh, but you have them.
Yeah, they're in the cupboard
Yeah,
over there.
you probably paid more for your Ibanez Geo than I did for this Ibanez ATK.
Yes.
It's an it's an ATK series. A lot of the time, if you've got a bit of patience with an Allen key and some tuning rods, spend some time setting them up, you can get some decent results out of those lower end Ibanez guitars and basses.
So the plan is, obviously, I have an idea for a YouTube series where I'm going to take that 7-string. I'm going to take it to a proper tech. I'm going to have the guts completely changed, all ripped out, shielded, and I'm going to get some proper pickups in there, get the action and everything all properly done. And the YouTube video is going to obviously be a comparison before and after how it sounds.
Yeah.
So the guitar eventually, and I need to get locking tuners and all that stuff. It's all garbage, as we would say. But the idea is there. And then I'm basically going to have a 200 guitar body that's been upgraded.
I have a video literally going out this week that's that.
Damn it, Adam! Why do you guys steal all my ideas all the time?
I know. I was saying when Warren asked earlier about my upbringing, I mentioned my old Strat. That's what came back from the shop, and that's what the video's on. Because I put some horrible electronics in it about 10, 15 years ago. Some hot rail pickups, those kind of humbucker in a single coil size, and they were kind of cool, but not great. And it sounds like a monster now, but I've now sent it back to the shop with an Evertune in a box. So,
oh boy,
yeah, that's the logical end point, I think.
Shit. Yeah, but I want to do it. So I have these ideas because I don't buying a new guitar over here. I think it'll be more expensive than to just get the components and pay someone to put it together.
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot to be said for doing a lot yourself. The reason that I've sent this to... in fact, I did a lot of the upgrade myself this time round. But an Evertune, you need routers and expert grade stuff for that. So that level I've gone. You know what? Because one of my friends, Jack at Jack's Instrument Services, he's the ESP repairman for the UK. He's the official guy. He knows what he's doing. So he works on guitars for famous people and stuff. And so it's for this level, Jack, there you go.
There you go, buddy. How much did you say? Alrighty then, no problem.
Yeah. So he's going to carve
know when to pay people to do things for you. That's one of the other major things where, if you guys saw the amp sim text with Glenn Cricker, all those ridiculous things that people were saying, you could buy everything for free. But sometimes you just have to understand when to throw in the towel and be like, I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I need to pay someone to do this for me because I have no hope in learning how to do it myself. Or, so I'd be told, I do not lose any ego points. I don't feel any worse for myself by giving my guitar to a guitar tech and having him doing it. I don't care.
Speaking of Scott and Glenn, here in the chat there's a new bundle, the Killer Guitar Tones bundle of Glenn's method and Scott's method in one handy package. So
yeah, actually it's $97, I think, which was the price for Glenn's course by itself. So now you get both.
Yeah.
For that.
So buy Glenn's course, get Scott's course for free, and Scott gets some money.
Yay! I can buy some. What do you guys call it? You guys call it ramen in England?
Yeah, noodles.
You do? All right.
Noodles and beans.
Yeah, so I can get the chicken flavored ones this time
instead of the plain ones.
Yep. The flavor, the
zero.
Just noodles
flavor.
and water, no seasoning.
Yeah. Well, they're the cheap ones.
Jesus.
Noodle flavored.
Yeah. Noodles. You guys are awesome. Adam, go home and drive safe, buddy.
Yes.
And we will figure out something to do next week for stream, guys. I really like streaming with Adam, so I hope he's okay with it.
Yeah.
But he's a busy guy, so.
Absolutely, but yeah, it's something to look forward to, definitely. And yeah,
All right.
Friday's generally a studio day for me anyway, so it makes sense.
I'm cool. It's good for me.
Epico.
All right. Everyone in chat, thanks a lot. It's always fun to talk with you guys and Adam.
Thank you very much. I'm going to run the intro video to end because I'm actually loaded up the Patreon thing. But thank you, everybody. And I'll see you
Cheers.
all
Have a good night.
in the next video. Goodbye.